You're not conservative, babe. You're literally just desperate for white approval.
You're not conservative. You're desperate for white approval. You're not conservative. You're desperate for white approval. You're not conservative. You're just desperate for white approval. White centrism in Black people leads to conservatism. Conservatism is necessarily white-centric. If you crave white approval, going conservative is the ultimate move. It must seem like a way of escaping your Blackness, like I'm escaping racism because I'm conservative. I got off the plantation. I'm in the house with Massa now. I'm not saying the Democratic Party is doing the perfect job for Black people, but liberalism is surely the Black Panther Party and Black Lives Matter both are talking about liberalism. Liberalism is about inclusivity. Black MAGAs are part of a community that does not want them.
So I was watching a video about how some people sacrifice their Blackness for white approval. And I'm not here to bash anybody, but we got to be real about what that means. Let's break it down really quick. It's culture, it's history, and a legacy of resistance. So when we start watering that down just to be accepted, we're telling the world that who we are as Black people, as a Black person, isn't enough. Sometimes aligning yourself with systems that have historically harmed us and say that it is not real while ignoring or downplaying those harms, it gives more of you're performing for acceptance instead of for a true political stance. Blackness is not a liability. It's power, it's survival, it's brilliance. And if we don't value it, no one else will.
It is white people who lynched you in the streets, not Black people. It was white people who raped our women and our children, not Black people. And it was a white man who killed that other white man. Wasn't a Black person. But somehow, we are still the problem, even when we're not involved. Isn't that crazy? Can y'all not see the self-hate? Can you not see the bigger issue here? Don't you think it's a problem that a Black person who has a common enemy, that's the only reason why I'm bringing this up, when that cop pull you over, and yes, maybe most of your stops are good. Most of my stops at police are good. Do you not know it only takes one bad cop for you to not make it home? It only takes one bad cop for you to not make it to work. And the problem, if we're really going to talk about the problem outside of the fact that they're bad cops, is that that bad cop won't even be persecuted for the crime of killing you. This is what we're fighting against. Here in Huntsville, Alabama, there was a guy, I forget how long ago, there was a guy who was literally pointing guns at police, and they were able to apprehend them alive and brought him to jail, while Black men just accused of having a gun were gunned down. This is the problem.
Today's proverb is, when a tree forgets its roots, even the wind, a mere wind, can confuse it. This old saying helps us understand a deep struggle that many Black people face in societies that are shaped by white power and white standards. It speaks to how a community can be pushed to forget its own beauty and its own history until outside approval begins to feel like oxygen. You know, you can't breathe without oxygen. You can't live without oxygen. See, the search for white approval is not a natural desire. It is a psychological response by centuries of domination, survival, and social pressure. Yes, you've heard and you've seen many times Black people always submitting to white people. You know, wait, before I go further. It's not that do not help your neighbor. Help them. In fact, Jesus washed the feet of his disciple. That is a very great form of service. But if the service comes at the expense of another person who looks like you, then it's not a service. It's a psychological response that you are giving. You've seen situations where Black ladies say that they can't date Black men. Black men may also say the same. Or perhaps you've seen such kind of things. We call it the approval of whiteness, right? So I want us to dive into this video, listen to the responses that Black people are going to give. I shall get back by the end of the video, of course, where we shall also have a deep critical analysis.
When I was 19 years old and in my second year of university, I went to a house party. I went to this house party with a really good friend of mine who also happened to be a Zambian brought up in England. She was lighter skinned than I am. That's important for this story. We walked to this house party, and when we got to the street, we realised that we didn't actually know which house number the party was taking place in. When we got to the street, there were about 3 houses having house parties. We actually stood in the middle of the street. My friend is texting the person who'd invited us to the house party to try and work out which door we're supposed to go into. We happened to be stood right opposite a house where one of the house parties was taking place. The door was open, and there were 2 dark-skinned black men stood in the doorway. I think they thought that the sound of the party and the music would drown out what they were saying, so we wouldn't be able to hear what they were saying. But because they were drunk and speaking really loud, I could hear what they were saying loud and clear. They were talking about trying to hook up with girls at this party and who they'd be interested in. And one of the guys turns to his mate and says, "How about those 2?" pointing to me and my friend. And his friend thinks about it for a second and says, maybe the one on the left, i.e. my friend, but definitely not the one on the right. She's too dark. My friend was too busy texting, so she didn't actually hear them, but I did, and this is a memory that has been cemented in my brain. The annoying thing is that actually happened to be the party that we were supposed to be going into, so I spent the rest of that evening feeling absolutely disgusting and feeling so ugly because of the amount of melanin in my skin. This is just one story time of my experience with colorism within the Black community growing up. I went to an all-girl high school where there were 5 black girls in the whole school, so I was very aware of the fact that I was not the beauty standard and no guys were checking for me, which was fine because I just focused on studying, getting good grades, and I thought once I left the school, was in a more diverse crowd, that I would find my people and I would find guys that were attracted to me. So boy was I in for a shock when I started dating in my later teens, early 20s, and I realised that a lot of the black men that I was attracted to had a preference for lighter skinned girls than I. My dating history is very varied. I've dated a lot. I've dated white guys, black guys, other ethnicities, but ultimately I just decided to go where I was loved and appreciated. It took me till around the age of 24, 25 to truly start to believe that I am beautiful. And I realised to hold this view of myself, I had to separate that from whatever anyone else might think of me. Like, I know objectively there are far more beautiful women in the world. If I wanted to end up with someone who thought of me as being the most incredible, beautiful woman in the world, then I first had to have that view. Because otherwise I was always going to think it's acceptable to have people in my life who thought of me as less beautiful, less deserving and less worthy. Which leads me to this comment, which made me laugh because I don't like white men. I like being liked. Ironically, as I've gotten older and now I'm in my later 20s, I get far more attention from black men than I ever have in my life. And I don't know if that's just me getting a bit older, growing into my features, learning how to do my makeup, all of that, or whether it's the fact that I'm at the age where black men now care less about how other people view the women they're dating and go after the women they actually like, or if there's just more representation online and in the media of black women being loved and black men realizing that they can also have that if they want. Maybe it's a combination of all of that. I love black love. But for me, being in a relationship with someone who is committed and loves me and is unashamed of that takes precedent. And right now, that happens to be with a white guy. And I don't know if this person left this comment in a haha, let's laugh together, hard wig, soft life kind of jokey way, or they were just simply making fun of the way my hair looks. But I truly hope that every girl out there ends up in a relationship that is fulfilling, where she feels beautiful, where she feels loved, no matter the race. And to all the girlies who told me that I look better with a middle parting and to keep that styling, I owe you my life.
You know, I would say it's not necessarily that white people want to be oppressed, but it just so happens that a lot of the people who are cool and in now are oppressed. So that disconnect is very difficult for them to navigate. And I understand. Listen, this is what I've been thinking about. I think about this sometimes in my head. How, like, racism, right? The beginning of racism. Take it all the way back. Slave owners were not even considering the possibility of black people becoming something that white people would want to engage with, or black people creating things that white people would want to be involved in. They were not thinking that far ahead, obviously. So now, fast forward, black people create all of this beautiful art and music that white people want to engage with and sing along to, but it just so happens that a lot of the music is hinged on a word that black people have reclaimed that white people cannot say. And also just themes and talking about the black experience, which white people do not understand and probably shouldn't sing along to in a way as if they understood. And that disconnect is not my fault and it's not my problem. And it's kind of like, yeah, white people are just shit out of luck in that aspect because they can't sing a lot of the greatest songs ever created. But should have thought ahead. Shit out of luck.
You'll find them saying, white people are not superior. We are equal to them. But guys, do you see that we always follow these people? And they are not following us. Yeah, they build school, we forcefully, and we even march to want to be part of their schools, right? They have the area, they can have an area around, they stay there. Black people will follow them. I don't know what is the problem with us building our own and privatizing our own. And make our schools be better like private schools. I don't know. We are always chasing after them. English figuratively I ate sandwich, sausage and what yeah, in terms of my actions, they love us, these people. We want to live like them. Now my activities masenza boma hiking yabona izinto engathi related kubo sibonakala ngathi siachievile yabona siya post on social media with people. Me as a black person, I'm no longer doing your activities. I've upgraded. I'm doing white people's activities. Yeah? We call each other mlongwami yabona. When a black person is doing well, akelo khwalaka yabona. But then we are saying we are equal. I've never saw incidences. I think this year the boy will find Woody, a white person was assassinated. But black against black. It's a tatana bit. But on Mama's Kuruma, you're not superior. But we follow them. We want their services. Guma municipality, governor, DA, all the politicians are staying there. When somebody, a black person, starts to be rich, he wants to go and stay with them. Why can't we build our own things, our own complexes, our own suburbs, our own tone?
So this lady asks, this black lady, are white women really that scared of black women? And I'm going to say yes. And this is my opinion as a white woman who is 53 years old and has lived in the South in Georgia in my entire life. But it's not being scared, but it's a fear. And it's not a physical fear. It is the mental fear. It is what we see in you and what we see you doing and how it challenges us and the fear of that. So we see black women and we see how strong you are. We see you coming together as a community. We see you supporting each other. We see you supporting your community, supporting your families, supporting your children, going out and fighting for your rights, being authentic in your race and in your femininity. Anyway. And we're jealous. I think we're jealous because we would love to be that, I think, and we don't know how to break out of the indoctrination that we have been suppressed by our entire lives. And I'm not giving white women a pass, don't get me wrong, but I know I and most women have been told, white women have been told our entire lives, be quiet, know your place, be a good girl, don't rock the boat, don't be too much. And when you are any of those things, you are ostracized because you have rocked their boat. And that is what black women are. You rock our boat, our mental boat, because you challenge us to look at how we are deficient and not living in our truth, and it makes us uncomfortable. And people don't like to be uncomfortable. And it makes us start to question ourselves, and people don't like to question themselves. We would rather live in our little bubble of white supremacy and what we know and comfortableness. I know that's not a word. Than a lot of people would, white women would, rather than challenge themselves to grow and know more, because it's easy. Doing the work is hard. It's really hard. I've been doing the work the past several years, and it's hard. It is hard admitting some truths about yourself and some truths about yourself as a white woman. So yeah, I think that white women are scared of black women because you challenge us in that way, and a lot of us don't like it. And that's why we fear you. It's because we fear what you make us face.
If you're on Black TikTok, you probably saw that lady's video talking about how she would prefer a white audience following her rather than a black audience. I'm not stitching her because I'm not giving her that engagement. What I do want to talk about is something I brought up in my video about Tube Girl with her neutral posts about what's happening in Gaza, and essentially how the need for being the caricature or the likable person of color is going to bite you in the ass. Because like I said in that video, they're going to like you until they find somebody else. Forgetting about the base that supported you in the beginning rather than, you know, cater to them and that audience is not going to help you progress. And I wish TikTok would give us like a setting to tell us like what like racial demos follows us, because we only get like regional demos and age regions, right? I know for me, I have a majority black audience, if not BIPOC audience, because the top cities that follow me are Chicago, LA, Houston, Atlanta, Brooklyn. And that's exactly how they're ranked in my analytics. And I've been to 3 of the cities where I'm most followed. Well, one of them I live in. And I'm always recognized by my people. And I say this constantly. You're not going to get anywhere being a caricature or a coon. We're watching that in real life happen, whether it's on this app or in freaking Congress. I really want people who want to be like creators or influencers to know, just be yourself, because wanting a whole demographic just because the money is good or the views are good is not going to be beneficial in the long run.
I hear a lot of people say this, that black people need to stop looking for white people's stamp of approval. This is an easy statement to say when you see the Beyonce of today. Oh, absolutely. She doesn't need anybody's stamp of approval today. But let's talk about the Beyonce of 2009. Let's talk about the Kanye West of 2009. Let's talk about the Kanye West that stormed the stage on an MTV award. And I use those words because that is what they called it. He stormed the stage. He was a mean black man who took a moment away from Taylor Swift. So much so that we still talk about this moment today. Now, the Kanye West and the Beyonce of today, nobody would have had to apologize. It just would have been what it was. But in 2009, Beyonce immediately had to get up on stage and apologize for what Kanye did, even though he just said what everybody else was thinking. Kanye West had to come out with a whole performance apologizing for this moment. And if the truth is told, Kanye West came to Beyonce's defense. And then the world came to Taylor Swift's defense. If the actual truth is told, Kanye West shouldn't have never had to get on that stage and say what he said. If awards were given for actual artistry, there wouldn't have been a moment. Kanye West is one of the greatest producers of all time. It's not like some random person ran on stage and was just talking. This is Kanye West. But it didn't matter because he was defending the little brown girl. He had got on stage and said, I don't care. Taylor Swift had the best music video of all time. She should have got an award. The world would have been on his side because he was defending the little black girl and not the little white girl. We got a problem. And the gatekeepers, who are the stamps of approval, started to shut doors on him. You are not the gatekeepers. You unfortunately have to get the stamps of approval. We're talking about the music industry. That means you got to get the stamp of approval from radio. You have to get the stamp of approval from places like MTV. You have to get the stamp of approval from your record labels. You have to get the stamp of approval from news and media outlets. We're talking about Viacom, which is not owned by black people. BET is not owned by black people. There are so many gates you have to go through in order to be a Beyonce and Kanye. When the gatekeepers don't look like you, you're going to have to apologize for some stuff that you normally wouldn't have to apologize for. You might have to put up with some things you normally wouldn't have to put up with. Then there will be those who will say, we need to get our own stuff. There are still gatekeepers when it comes to that. How many black people have tried to own NFL teams? And why do you think that there are so few black quarterbacks in college football and the NFL? Or how about coaches? Or how about the fact that there are so few black baseball players in Major League Baseball? You see a person of color in baseball, they're not a black American. Gatekeepers. When Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier, the numbers went up, then they went back down. Baseball is America's pastime. You got to get through the gate, which means you can't be full Negro. You got to be Negro light. This is why people say black people have to work 10 times harder to get anywhere in this society. It's because that stamp of approval. If we had people to open the gates for us, trust me, it would be a whole lot easier. Nobody wants to go through hell if they don't have to.
We don't. And that's the part you guys seem to really be struggling with. We're like, please leave us alone. And you're like, no. We don't. We don't care. Go live your life. Go raise your kids. Go away.
Go to another restaurant on 4th and Parkhurst and sit down and observe how the white customers are being treated. Meanwhile, you spend more than they have to. You spend more. As a black person, you have to spend more. There's no way we can spend less because we need to show that not siyakwazi ukuzenza lezi zinto when as forced. That's why we have to wear the designer clothes and brandeds and all those things to say that, yes, we are also to be seen. Please see us. Please see us. Hello. Yes. 93% of the population is just asking to be seen. As a white person, the guy who's opening the gate for you, who's security, is a black person. The guy who you open your window for and donate some coins to, coins, imagine, coins. What can the coins buy? They can't even buy a can of Coca-Cola.
Today my son asked why we only say hi to black people.
That's interesting. All right, let me hear. I'm curious.
And I said, who told you we only say hi to black people? He said, you did.
Damn.
And I said, when? He said, when we were at the restaurant, you waved to that lady and we didn't know her. And I said, why? And you said, because we...
I would have assumed that they were family.
Say hi to black people. And I said, oh, we don't only say hi to black people. We just always say hi to black people. And he said, why?
Probably because you know other black people. Yeah, it makes sense.
Why? And I said, because we belong to the black community and it's always important to be kind to your community.
That's so nice.
Right on?
I mean, like... Here's my thing. What is the reason that this person made this video? They're a psychologist, so they understand the mental state more. Why did you say the quiet part out loud? Because you want to know what? This is not really a hot take, and I'm going to say it sensitively. I understand why certain groups of people feel more comfortable with other certain groups of people, whether it's from a race or a gender or a sex or this. I understand why maybe some women are uncomfortable around men. I understand why some black people are uncomfortable around white people. I understand why some white people are uncomfortable around black people. I can understand why some men are uncomfortable around women. A lot of complex things going on. She's trying to upset white people because to her, her advocacy centralizes around upsetting the group she thinks is the opposition class rather than the advocacy for her class.
I'm so tired of black people seeking white validation in black spaces, especially when it comes to music. Like, why do so many white men have platforms and spaces talking about black music? You don't even know black culture for real. Just because you listen to Jay-Z, Jay Dilla, MF Doom, Nas, don't mean you got the right to speak on black culture. And when black folks run to their podcasts and to their platforms to kiki in their faces and tell all of our business, it makes no sense to me. Like how Rick Ross disrespectfully left 85 South podcast and went over to do a white podcast. Come on now. Or how black people are only successful in music once they've crossed over, once they've gone mainstream. Why is your group of people liking your music not good enough? Especially when we know how much the black dollar is worth in the United States. There was a time, they probably still do, where artists was not even showing up for the BET Awards or the Source Awards, and they held a higher regard to getting a Grammy. Again, you're letting people who don't even know or care about your culture determine your worthiness in it. Come on. Saying you made it once you crossed over to a white audience is mind-blowing to me. What J. Cole said, these white kids love that you don't give a fuck. Because that's exactly what's expected when your skin black. They want to see you dab. They want to see you pop a pill. They want to see you tatted from your face to your heels. They want to be black and think your song is how it feels. Be so fucking for real. And doing so makes them profit off of our backs. It's just not a pattern that we're continuing. Hello, let's turn it on. If we held what we did in a higher regard and truly respected what we do in the culture that we've cultivated, we would only want to be in spaces, black spaces, that revere us. But unfortunately, we'll probably never see that due to capitalism, elitism, crabs in the barrel, and just black folks wanting to become successful and think that following behind white people, white validation is the best way to go about it. Tell me what you think. Can we change this, or is this just the path that we're on, just to continue to see validation in white spaces?
Low black racial self-esteem is keeping white racial self-esteem high in this country. That is contentious. I'm okay with saying that and standing on it, and I know there are going to be white and black people who call into question my blackness because I am a black biracial woman. But I do know low racial self-esteem up close and personal because my black father had the lowest racial self-esteem I've ever seen, and I've been estranged from my family for the better part of a decade, mostly in part because I was constantly met with violence for calling into question my father's anti-blackness, his misogynoir, his self-hatred, and his low racial self-esteem. Because of his eagerness and willingness to perform and pander for white supremacy and white supremacist approval at the expense of himself and his children. I know that I'm here as a result of my father's low racial self-esteem. I can't change it, I didn't choose it, but I do get to decide how I move in this world as a black woman, as a pro-black black woman, who upholds the values instilled by the black women who stepped in and raised me when my father and his anti-black parenting and character fell short. To that exact point about low racial self-esteem, why are so many black people mourning the loss of a white supremacist? It would make sense for biracial folks to mourn the death of a white supremacist because the call would be coming from within the house, from within the parent in that house. But to black folks who are not related to white people in that way, why are y'all mourning the death of a white supremacist? Where is that call coming from? I can only think religious indoctrination, internalized white supremacy, and low racial self-esteem. Because that energy is synonymous with the black folks who sold out other black people attempting to execute liberation. It's giving you would have sold out Harriet. It's giving you would have wept over slave owners dying. It's giving you would have condemned Nat Turner. And that is anti-black. That is low racial self-esteem. We do not need to prove that we are the morality standard to the same people who ate our ancestors, who justified killing our ancestors and enslaving our ancestors. Y'all are mourning the death of a white man who upholds the same ideology that oppressed your 2 black parents, your 4 black grandparents, your 8 black great-grandparents, and so on. Whole ancestral lineage. They are not the morality standard. It does not make sense to mourn the death of racists.
As white people, is our deepest fear that we are inadequate? Or is our deepest fear that black excellence is powerful beyond measure? It is their light, not their darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who are they to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are they not to be? Look honestly, and you will see how they demonstrate love as a reflection of our unwarranted hate. Our playing God does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about positioning ourselves and controlling the narrative so that black and brown folks feel insecure around us. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to manifest the glory of the Spirit that is within us. And it's not just in some of us, it's in all of us, no matter what your skin tone is. And as we let our own light shine by atoning for and repairing the harm of our ways, as we learn to serve and see the true greatness of Aboriginal and Indigenous cultures and human beings around us, we unconsciously give white people around the planet the permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fears, our presence automatically liberates others. From this point, we can build a new world that is connected to the planet and each other. Together, humanity is achievable.
Black people have this weird fantasy of white people being racist towards them. Like, they want white people to be racist towards them. Those videos of the women, the black women, like recording themselves in a bathroom and a white woman literally glances at them and then they go about their business and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, she's so racist. She looked at me. She's a white woman. Please shut up. Like, y'all really need to stop the victim complex. It looks embarrassing, first of all. And second of all, it's just, doesn't it get tiring? Magnify every single white person to see if they're racist towards you or not. The truth is, y'all don't want racism to end. Y'all want it to live on just so y'all can get victim points. Like, that's literally the truth.
There is nothing more dangerous than a black man who is willing to sacrifice their blackness to be appreciated and acknowledged by the whiteness that they crave for. It's curious to me how some black people will go out of their way to eliminate their blackness just to be acknowledged by the perpetrator that they should not be fighting for their approval of. Understandably, if you are a black person who was raised, grow up, or even move into a predominantly white area, you probably had to learn code switching. You have to change the bass and the volume of your voice. You have to change the way you act, behave, and talk just so you can stay alive and just so you won't be labeled as a threat. In this case, it's different. This is a black man with a white woman and he's changing the way who he is entirely, eliminating his blackness just so he can get the approval of a white male. Nothing, and I mean nothing at all, screams coon the way this black man is perpetrating himself to be. And of course, you are who you are no matter how you are raised, because a black person is still a black person, and a black person isn't solely supposed to act a certain way just to make them black. There are many different types, varieties, and ecosystems of what it means and how a black person is, because black person is not a monolith. However, there is a term and condition when it comes to individuals of black people like this. That being said, my fellow brother, you shouldn't have to eliminate and erase or even hide the person you are just to seek or to gain the approval of a white man who potentially was never going to accept you in the first place.
So, after clearly watching the videos and the reactions, here is my deep critical analysis. For hundreds of years, black people have lived under systems that treated them as less than human beings. Slavery, colonialism, segregation, and racist institutions all sent one message. Your value is defined by the white world. When a society teaches this sign again and again, it sinks into the mind. Even after the legal chains fall, the psychological chains remain. People may begin to believe their success is only real if a white person confirms it. This is not weakness. It is the result of historical trauma repeated across generations. Come on, 400 years of enslavement is not easy. Something has to be happening to your mind. You see, the first thing is the desire for safety. Psychologists explain that approval often comes from a desire for safety. In racist societies, white approval once meant life instead of death, opportunity instead of punishment, survival instead of suffering. that survival instinct can still shape behavior long after the physical danger has decreased. Some black people may try to appear non-threatening, respectable, or acceptable to avoid judgment or discrimination. This is not because they lack pride, it is because generations learned that being accepted by a white authority could protect their families and their properties, you know. Also, we have internalized beliefs. Another deep psychological impact is internalized racism. This is when people knowingly or rather unknowingly absorb negative ideas about themselves from the outside world. If the media mostly praises the white beauty, white intelligence, white success, and white culture, then some might start trying to imitate those things for them to feel worthy. The mind becomes a battlefield between natural identity and imported standards. This is really painful because it creates self-doubt and insecurity. It forces some black people to measure themselves with a ruler that was never built for them, you know. Another one is social rewards and punishment. Modern societies often reward behavior that fits white norms. English accents are praised, natural hair is questioned, African American culture is policed, and African traditions are mocked. In schools and workplaces, many black people feel pressure to adjust their speech, emotions, or appearance to be taken seriously. Over time, this training becomes a pattern. Approval becomes a goal because it opens doors that racism keeps half closed, you know. Another one is the emotional cost. Seeking approval from a group that has historically oppressed you comes with a heavy economic or rather a heavy emotional price. It causes exhaustion, anxiety, and confusion. It can create a double life, one public self-shaped for acceptance, and one private which holds truth, you know. It can also break community bonds when people begin to judge each other by how close they appear to white standards. This creates good luck versus bad luck narratives, which divide rather than empower. Now, we need a path towards healing. We need a path towards decolonizing the mind. The mind needs to be decolonized, right? It needs to be. See, healing begins when black people reclaim their own measure of worth. This means writing the standards, celebrating the fullness of black culture, and building communities where validation comes from within. When black people value their own history, beauty, strength, and creativity, the need for outside approval loses power. Education, art, activism, and cultural pride all help rebuild confidence that racism tried to destroy. And so to conclude, the search for white approval is not simply a personal choice. It is a psychological effect on historical and modern racism. It reflects pain, survival instincts, and a deep desire to exist without conflict. But as black communities continue to heal and redefine themselves, new generations can grow with a stronger sense of identity. They can stand tall in their own truth, knowing that their value is not a borrowed light, but a fire that comes from within. Yes. Guys, I hope that you've gained value from watching this video. You've learned that people who seek white approval, it is not in their likeness or it is not in their will. They are suffering psychological torture because of what they have been fed through the many, many years they have lived and through the experiences they have had. Yes. But there's a way to decolonize to your mind. There's a way to clean your mind and put in good faith and good information into your mind. It starts by you doing what I've just told you here. See you in the next one. Stay positive.